चलिए फोकस करेंगे हम लोग कॉर्पोरेट कनेक्शन में आज के मैनेजमेंट पर और बात होगी त्रिवेणी टर्बाइन के टॉप मैनेजमेंट से। नतीजों पर खास चर्चा करने के लिए हमारे साथ जुड़ रहे हैं कंपनी के वाइस चेयरमैन और मैनेजिंग डायरेक्टर निखिल साहनी। बहुत बहुत स्वागत आपका। इसके अलावा हम लोग ऑटो इंडस्ट्री और ऑटो पीएलआई स्कीम पर भी एक्सक्लूसिव बातचीत सुनवाएंगे आपको भारी उद्योग मंत्रालय के सचिव अरुण गोयल से। लेकिन पहले चर्चा होगी त्रिवेणी टर्बाइन के मैनेजमेंट से। आपको बता देते हैं कंपनी के बारे में कुछ, फिर शुरू करेंगे चर्चा का सिलसिला। त्रिवेणी टर्बाइन जो है वो 5 से 30 मेगावाट रेंज की स्टीम टर्बाइंस बनाती है। बेंगलुरु में इसका मैन्युफैक्चरिंग प्लांट है। 70 से ज़्यादा देशों में इस कंपनी की मौजूदगी है। 2010 में पेरेंट कंपनी त्रिवेणी जर्नी से ये अलग हुई थी। शुगर, टेक्सटाइल, केमिकल के कारोबार में जुड़ी हुई है। ऑयल एंड गैस, पाम ऑयल, फर्टिलाइजर इंडस्ट्री में भी कंपनी का दखल है। और हमारे साथ जुड़े हुए हैं त्रिवेणी टर्बाइन के वाइस चेयरमैन और एमडी निखिल साहनी। साहनी साहब, बहुत बहुत स्वागत आपका। वेलकम टू द शो। Let me start by asking about your investments. You have invested in manufacturing hybrid turbines as well as turbines for solar power plants. What are your current contributions from renewable and innovation segment? Could this become the next big growth driver in the future?
Well, if you look historically and you break the market up into say 3 segments. One is the utility segment of steam turbines, which are above 100 megawatts. And the other is a medium-sized applications between 30 and 100 megawatts and the smaller size applications below 30 megawatts. What we've seen over the last, say, 10 years is in the effort of decarbonization, the utility steam turbine market annually has decreased by over 90%. And this is nothing new to you and your viewers. You know that in the process of decarbonization, large utility plants are on their way out. What has happened in the meantime, though, is in the industrial segment, which is both below 100 megawatt as well as below 30 megawatts, you've seen a compounded annual global growth of between 3 to 5%. And so this has meant that there is underlying demand, both from existing industries, but also from a very steady source of demand from the renewable-based applications. Globally, the renewable-based applications have grown at a rate of about 12 to 13% annually. We anticipate that to rise by slightly faster going forward, given an increased focus and availability of finance. And so we anticipate this segment to grow globally at around 15% annually. And this will have a variety of different applications. From Trieveni Turbine's perspective, not only do we participate with our steam turbines here, but our research and development efforts are aligned towards catering to this in a much broader perspective. We have some very unique developments underway, which we will aim to commercialize in this coming year of FY23, and hope to pilot in FY23 and hope to commercialize by FY24. This would be along the lines of our developments in supercritical carbon dioxide, and this effective technology is being developed in India at the same time as it's being developed globally, and so we would be a leader in this field. And of course, our research partner in this is the Indian Institute of Science, which is the foremost research institute globally for this space. So we're very excited about growing this technology, but also the growth in the market, especially in the renewable field.
Correct. Mr. Sahni, how is the inquiry pipeline looking right now, and what is the status of your order book, especially in the API segment?
The fact is that as the market leader for small steam turbines globally and the leader for renewable energy-based applications globally as well, we find it a little funny that there is a market segment which is open for us, which is the drive turbines for the oil and gas industry, which is for the API segment, which is American Petroleum Institute-based steam turbines. This market segment has the potential for us to grow very rapidly. We have currently a market share in the global market less than 1%. And we anticipate that we have the potential to really disrupt this market, to provide solutions which are energy efficient to our customers, where we could be selling in excess of 1,000 turbines a year. So this potential of this market is possibly the size of Trieveni Turbine right now in the very short term. And so this also provides us very good visibility on growth. And so we're quite optimistic on this market segment, which is not a power generating segment, but it is to drive an equipment, be it a blower or a pump or a compressor.
Correct. As we know that you are present in around 70 countries, Mr. Sahni, how has the export performance been? We have seen that the revenues were down by 16%, where the inquiries were up about 68%.
You bring up an interesting point, and as I had said, Trieveni Turbine operates on an order book. So that means that the order book that we had 9 months ago is what would reflect into turnover 9 months later. And so when you look at the quarter that has just passed, 9 months before that was a time that global markets were in a lockdown. And so we had fewer export orders that we took in those quarters. And so therefore that is reflected in the revenue in this quarter having lower proportion of exports. But as you have pointed out to our order booking, which is this last quarter has been heavily dominated by exports, we expect that in 9 months' time, that would reflect, or 10 months' time, that would reflect very effectively in our revenue. So there's a lead time to our execution. And so given the fact that we are optimistic not only in the order booking that we have to date, but also in Q4 and the inquiry book for the next year, which is for FY23, this would augurs very well for revenue and that Trieveni Turbine would record in the next year, which is FY23, as well as FY24.
Right. Finally, Mr. Sahni, EBITDA margins were, we've seen that they were up about 63 bips on lower admin expenses. Can you please share the margin outlook given the cost optimization efforts that the company has, they have brought in?
Actually, if you look at this past quarter, we had a possible 50% increase in our high chrome-based alloy costs. That we were able to absorb. And as you see from our current quarter, despite the fact that we had a higher percentage of domestic sales as a percentage of our revenue, which is lower in margin, we were able to actually report a higher EBITDA, a higher EBITDA percentage and contribution. This was driven by a lot of internal efforts to value engineer, but also to make the most of operating leverage. Given the fact that we had higher turnover, we were able to absorb certain administrative and overheads. As you rightly said, there may have been slightly lower costs in terms of certain administrative costs. But in this past quarter, we actually had quite a lot of travel because we had a lot of export orders that came through. So having said that, we were able to actually absorb a lot of these costs and work with our customers to raise certain prices so that we could keep margins stable. We believe that we're in a commodity situation where we don't expect commodity prices to reduce substantially as we cater to solutions for these industries, such as steel or copper or other metals. So we know the amount of capacity that is coming up in these segments, and it'll take a little bit of time. There may be some softening of demand, but we don't expect prices to substantially reduce. So I think some of this pricing of inflation is already built in and here to stay, and we'll have to live with that. From a margin perspective for us at Trieveni Turbine, we believe that we should be at least consistent with our margin, despite the fact that we would have a higher percentage of exports as a percentage of turnover going forward. And so this is just being conservative. We believe that we will be spending more money and expanding our workforce so that we can cater to this growth. And so we have very aggressive hiring plans to be able to cater to the increased demand that we have from the market.
करेक्ट, थैंक यू वेरी मच फॉर योर टाइम मिस्टर साहनी। निखिल साहनी यहाँ पर वाइस चेयरमैन और एमडी त्रिवेणी टर्बाइन के बताते हुए किस तरह से कंपनी का परफॉर्मेंस रहा पिछले क्वार्टर में, और आगे उनको लग रहा है कि काफ़ी बड़ा मार्केट है तो ग्रोथ काफ़ी ज़्यादा है, नई हायरिंग की तैयारी भी कर रही है कंपनी, और स्टॉक तो आज अच्छा परफॉर्म कर ही रहा है, करीब 4% ऊपर। चलिए फोकस करेंगे यहाँ पर